All right, everybody. Hopefully you weren't sick of me from my introduction of everything. I'm now up here to introduce our speaker for the evening and the part that I'm sure everyone here has been waiting for.
Morning.
It's daytime.
Oh, sorry. In the morning. And that everyone's here and excited for. So let me just use my little cheat sheet bio here I got for Joy because she's very experienced and knows a lot of different things in the field of safety. So I don't want to miss anything. And so our distinguished speaker, Joy Glad, is a dedicated safety professional who is currently at the forefront of ensuring safety compliance for companies throughout her role at Dynamic Safety and Environmental LLC. With a rich background that spans mining, manufacturing, and remanufacturing, Joy has consistently demonstrated her commitment to reducing injury rates and fostering positive safety cultures. Having navigated the safety evolution within various industries, Joy brings invaluable insights, having transitioned from reactive emergency response to doing proactive safety planning. During her tenure in mining, she selflessly served as an EMT firefighter, driven by a deep-seated determination to prevent injuries and making a lasting impact on safety, on people's lives and safety. Recognizing the importance of continuous learning, Joy furthered her education by earning an MS in occupational safety and health, solidifying her expertise and commitment to advancing safety practices. And join me in welcoming Joy Glad as she shares her wealth of knowledge, expertise, experiences, and undoubtedly will inspire us all to take a safety approach that everyone wants.
Hey, that's a lot to take in. Picker, there we go. Well, good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. Thank you. So like you said, my name is Joy Glad. I'm here to talk about workplace safety today. For our Happy New Year, let's start it off right? Okay, get me back over. There we go. Okay, so for our agenda today, we're going to talk about some different types of workplace occurrences, the impact that it can have on you, how prepared you are for when it happens, some takeaways for you, and some resources. And then you'll notice on the bottom, I have a little star there. It says reasonable. There's two terms I want to talk about before we get into this, and one of them is reasonable. It is a legal definition, and I'm going to use the word in the definition. What would a reasonable person do in a situation? That is how it is determined a reasonable consequence. So if someone invades my home, what is a reasonable response that I would have? If a police officer is arresting somebody, they have years of training, constant training, they've gone through post, they have a reasonable expectation of how they are supposed to handle themselves. As safety professionals, we have a reasonable manner in which we are supposed to work within our businesses. The other one that I want you to know is intent. Intent is one of those other legal terms. So people carry guns all the time now. Gun laws here in Utah changed a couple of years ago for concealed weapon permits and things like that. But it's the intent that is involved in that. So keep those two things in mind as we're going through this. It's if it's reasonable and what the intent is. Okay, so what is workplace violence? According to the U.S. Department of Labor, it is any act or threat of physical violence, harassment, intimidation, or other threatening, disruptive behavior at a work site. We have over 2 million American workers are affected by workplace violence every single year. In 2020, over 20,000 people were assaulted, and we're going to learn a little bit more about assault and how to understand how assault affects people. And from those 20,000 people that were assaulted, 392 of them were fatally injured. That's not how we want to be at work, right? We want to go home every single day the same way we got there. So some types of workplace hazards. We are going to cover this. I know that there's a lot of classes on this. You can take full 8-hour days of this down at the police training station down on, 98 South and 5th West. You can do an 8-hour class there on active shooters. We're going to hit it very quickly. If you have access to the National Safety Council's Safety and Health magazine, December's, coincidentally, has a very nice article on active shooters and workplace violence. what I want you to take away from it are the run, the hide, and the fight. That is what you're going to do. That is the plan that you have to make. How are you going to run? Where are you going to hide? And how are you going to fight if you have to? We're going to move on to some other ones. I deal with a lot of people who work through trauma in their businesses. So we're going to hit some of those. Harassment, whether this is bullying or sexual harassment, it is still considered harassment. It's any words or behavior that can intimidate or demean a person. These are our 3 U's: unwelcome, uninvited, unwanted. If you have any of those, with me moving around, am I still staying on the camera? Okay, because I can't stand still. So anytime you have one of those 3 U's, that is considered harassment. That could be someone coming up, and in my case, I had this just recently. Someone didn't like my hair color. Apparently that doesn't make me a professional. To me, that is unwanted, uninvited, and unwelcomed comments. So I would consider that to be a type of harassment. Threats and bullying, these are statements of intention, right? We're looking at how it's going to inflict pain, if it's going to inflict an injury, some sort of damage to you or the property around you, some sort of hostile action. And in a lot of cases we see, and you'll see this a lot when you go to active shooter training, is the retribution. Someone is there for some perceived wrong against them that they're going to take retribution against people. I've been in a simulation with this down at the training center where they have this nice, great big 3D thing. I was there with the police department. They had a person come into an office building as a shooter, and is how do you determine where to step in? How do you determine when to run, hide, fight? I got it wrong. We'll just tell you that. I got it wrong. And people died in this scenario. So we have theft and robbery. So theft is a crime against property. How does that become something that's going to hurt me? Well, if this is mine and you're going to take it away from me, that's robbery, which becomes a crime against person. But if it's mine and you're going to take it away from me there, that is a theft. Both of those can happen at work, and they're still considered workplace violence. It's still my property, and if you've taken it away from me, that is workplace violence. When we look at robbery, we think of this as like the bank robber, got the mask on, got their gun in their pocket, things like that, right? That's the picture we get in our head because we're using force and intimidation. If someone walks into a building and they've got the balaclava on and you don't know them, our instincts are to say this person is a danger to us. And I want you to follow your instincts, especially in this day and age. So we have assault and battery. Assault is causing someone reasonable fear. So there's that term reasonable again. Reasonable fear of imminent harm. I'm going to kill you. That would, and I'm saying this to Michael, that would give you, as a reasonable person, a fear of imminent harm, wouldn't it? Okay. Battery is the physical act of harming somebody. So you'll hear assault and battery. They'll be interchanged a lot in public, but so you have it clear. We have assault, which is the words with intent to harm. And we have battery, which is the physical harm itself. According to the National Safety Council, Injury Facts 2021, assault is the 5th leading cause of workplace deaths. So keep in mind, assault is that intent for reasonable harm. So I'm going to ask you guys, and I'm going to ask the people online here, how does assault kill people? Come on, let's not have crickets. I know it's early. Remember that intent.
Maybe because of the trauma that comes to the person.
Exactly. There is a lot of trauma with assault. If I'm walking up to you and I say, I want to kill you, are you going to have a great day? Or are you going to be worried about it? That's going to cause a trauma response. And a lot of times trauma responses, and we're going to get into a little bit, depression, anxiety, anger, fear, all of those are going to affect the way you work. And as a safety professional, if someone's affected in how they work, chances are they're going to get hurt. But in this case right here, a lot of this assault leads to battery. They tend to go hand in hand. It's, I'm going to kill you, and then I try to hit you with something. Throw my remote at you. It's a good thing I don't have good aim. And if anybody has questions online, go ahead and put them in, and they'll tell me the questions and we can answer them as we go. There's also outside influences. So these are the things that are not necessarily on purpose. Some of them are. Vehicle crashing into your office. That is a type of workplace violence. It's not something we're expecting. It's happened in Tooele in about May of last year. There was a semi truck driving down one of the main roads and drove right into an office building. Came right up, smashed the receptionist's desk and knocked them backwards. That is an unexpected event. That is workplace violence. This person was not trying to kill anybody, but it still gives you that trauma response. People can have criminal intent. They want to do people harm. Unfortunately, we see that more and more. I don't think it's changed any more than it has 100 years ago. We just talk about it more now. People are out there and they want to cause harm. They want to cause mischief. And they'll be out there and they will do that. Robberies in your house. They want to do that. Businesses. If you've got any cash in a cash register, somebody's going to want it. Clients and customers. Those are people that are coming into your facility that you're allowing them in there. But what are they there for? What are they doing while they're there? How are they interacting with your people? What damage could they be doing? A lot of times, and I left this one on here, I left it off specifically, but I do want to mention it. There are certain individuals in our society who think that they know better than everybody else. They like to ask for managers. They like to call the police. I'm not saying that because I don't like that term. Those people cause harm. And if that happens at your work, that is workplace violence because it is creating an environment of harassment and anxiety.
Can that be patients as well?
Say that again?
Patients.
Patients, actually, yes. One of the references I have at the very end of this is a nursing one, and it's how to deal with that. And it's a very good reference across the board. Patients, as I have found being a patient, we're scared and we're angry and we're frustrated and we may become violent. I didn't, but people can become violent because that's how we're feeling and nobody's helping us. There's also patients who go into the ER that are taken by what they call pink slip with the police. And someone gets taken by the police to the hospital with this pink slip and they're angry about it and they're going to fight and they're going to hit people. You have other people who come into the ER with drugs in their system. Drugs make us act very erratically. They mess with our systems. And so we don't know what is going to happen. I have found, I spent a lot of time working with my local police department and a lot of time at the University of Utah. And I have found that nurses actually handle violence better than some police officers. Just because they don't have a gun to handle things. They don't have a taser to handle things. So they have to work through the process. And we'll talk about those type of processes here shortly. So what's the impact of workplace violence? So you have victims that have trauma, okay? Not just the victim itself, but what about their family? If I get hurt on the job or I get killed on the job, does that affect my family? Does that affect my friends? Does that affect my coworkers? Absolutely. It's going to affect my morale. It's going to affect everybody's morale. Water cooler talk, those kind of things. If I have someone who perpetrates a crime of workplace harassment, does that affect their family and friends? Absolutely. Because now their family and friends have to deal with either that person who committed a crime being in jail, prison, or potentially killed. So we're dealing with a lot of trauma here that can happen. Sorry, I gotta have my hot cocoa. It's like 3 snowflakes out there. I gotta have my hot cocoa. So for employee morale, you get self-doubt, fear, PTSD. Does anybody lose sleep about the anxiety of what's going on in their job? I did. I'm very good at waking up at 3 a.m. and thinking through everything I have to do for my job. I don't need that violence on top of my own anxiety. You can have disturbed relationships, increased absences. If I don't feel safe going to a place, am I going to want to go there? Chances are I'm going to start calling off sick a lot more, especially when I'm not feeling my best. Like I can face the world. Businesses. So what happens to the businesses? Loss of productivity. You've got the lack of morale, the absenteeism, productivity, just it goes down. We would much rather stand around the water cooler talk than do our actual jobs. We're people, we gossip. It's what we do. Businesses have issues with public relations. If I know a business that gets robbed regularly, that's not a store I want to go to. That's not a place that I want to spend my money because I don't know if I'm going to be there the next time it gets robbed. It can ruin a business's reputation, especially if the company did nothing about it. It can influence your customers. You may have to spend more on increased security. I worked in a facility that had cameras. None of them worked. When their workplace violence happened, they had to install all new cameras and get a whole new system working. That was about $50,000. Does that take money out of your bottom line? And is my productivity going to be able to make that up? Am I going to get enough widgets out the door to be able to replace that cost? Increased workers' compensation insurance costs. Just like when you get in a car accident, one's okay, usually. 2, your insurance is going to go up. In this case, if someone is injured on your facility, they're your responsibility. If you work for me, I have to take care of you. And by that, I have to pay for your insurance and your workers' compensation for anything you miss or any injuries that happen at work, even if it's caused by another person. So some legal repercussions. So for you as an individual, you need to make sure that you know your rights. You know who to contact. Is it your supervisor? Is it human resources? Is the plant manager? Is it 911? Cases are going to be where it is going to be 911. And I want you to not give up. Don't ever give up. This is tough. Know that you're not alone and there are people who can help you. You're also going to deal with pain and suffering. You will have medical bills. As long as the company is doing their job, that's going to help take care of that. But it could last a long time. Trauma, PTSD, that doesn't go away like a broken arm does. Broken arm heals in 6 weeks. PTSD can be a lifetime. You're going to have medical bills, lost wages because you're not at work, potentially, because you've called in sick, because I don't feel safe in this place anymore. You can have cost of trial. Not only money coming out of your pocket, but now you're missing more work to be in a trial. You're having to spend time talking to lawyers, building a case, and it can take years of your life to do. Most cases don't go to trial in less than 3 years. Fair company? No. Who's dangerous? Now, It is not illegal to hire an ex-con. It is not illegal to hire somebody who has a criminal record. It is illegal to tell people that you've hired somebody with a criminal record. But those are the decisions you have to make as a hiring person. So human resources, the supervisor, manager, whoever does the hiring, that is a decision that they have to make as to whether or not to bring that person in. A lot of people serve their time and they're going to do really well. Okay, some people are also looking to get back into prison. If you've ever watched Shawshank Redemption, the old guy Red, he committed a crime to go back to prison because he didn't know anything different. So there's two cases. You could be criminally liable if you knowingly put somebody else in danger. So this is a really hard one. How do I know when I'm hiring somebody that I could be putting somebody in danger? This is a conversation that management staff has to know and understand, because it's similar to a HIPAA rule. We can't just go and tell, oh, hey, by the way, we hired this person here and they committed domestic violence for 5 years on their wife. That's not a person I want to work with, but I can't say that. They don't have to tell me that. When companies do background checks, yes, they're going to know that there was a criminal, that they went to prison or something along those lines, whatever their crime was, but those specifics stay with them. Now, if I knowingly put somebody in danger, that's where my company is criminally liable. The other side of that is civically liable. This is for negligent hiring. So you'll see this is all negligence. Negligent hiring, negligent retention, negligent supervision, negligent training. When I bring somebody into my facility, if I am not making sure that they are trained and supervised properly, as with everybody else we're bringing in, because we're safety professionals, right? We want to make sure everybody there is safe. Then the company can be held civilly liable. So are you ready? The first thing you're going to want to do is try to de-escalate. You want to diffuse the situation. You're going to talk calmly. You're going to try to bring that person down a little bit. You're going to make space between you. If I'm close to somebody, then they can hit me. If I'm far away, it's going to take them a lot more energy to get to me to do damage. We're going to try and talk to them and reason with them. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And try and get them to understand that what they're doing is wrong and that we want to make it better. How do we fix this? If we can't do that, we're going to escalate to manage the incident. This is when we start telling them, hey, you're going to get in trouble. Someone's going to get hurt. You've got to stand your ground. I still want you to make sure you have that distance, but you have to stand your ground. And you've got to tell them flat out, this is wrong. Let's get you some help. Let's find out what's going on. Let's fix this. If I have to, I will call 911. And our third response is that emergency response. You can call 911 while you're escalating or as an emergency response. Both of those are okay. Make sure that when someone is calling 911, they're giving the proper information to the call taker. The call taker at 911 then passes that information on to a dispatcher, and that dispatcher passes it on to the police officer or the fire department. So there's a game of telephone going on there that you've got to be very clear of what's happening so you can get the right response. Otherwise, they treat it like an active shooter and you get like 17 counties showing up. So some takeaways. There are 8 steps to take. These are the 8 steps that I have really nailed down on this. You want to create zero tolerance policies. We're not going to put up with any workplace violence. There is no harassment. There is no bullying. There is nothing negative towards another person. I don't care how bad you hate me. You cannot treat me badly. We're going to make sure we implement training and awareness so that we have these types of classes that we can understand what to look for, what signs we need to see, and how to take care of them, sort of nip it in the bud. We want to establish clear reporting procedures, similar to if we have an incident or an accident on our facility, in our facility, we have that chain of command that we're going to follow. Who is it that needs to be in our chain of command for workplace violence? We may need to enhance our site security. And that could just be somebody walking around the building occasionally, taking a tour, looking around, seeing what's happening. You need to perform regular risk assessments. We do that already, so let's add workplace violence in there. Do we see situations where people are not getting along? And as a safety professional, we talk to everybody, or we should be talking to everybody. So we're going to see those situations come up, and we can be able to help facilitate the change early rather than waiting until it escalates and somebody gets hurt. We're going to use our communication channels to ensure employee safety. That's not only going up the chain of command, that's also going down. We're going to share that information. We're going to share what we learn. We're going to maintain a healthy workplace. I've worked in some places that are not healthy workplaces. They're the kind of places that you wake up every morning and your alarm's going off. You're like, oh, can I just call in sick today? I can't do this. So if we maintain a healthy workplace with good communication, we're less likely to have that workplace violence. How am I doing on time? Okay. And then we're going to conduct a post-event analysis. As safety professionals, we know how to do investigations. We're going to do the same type of investigation for this, just asking some different questions. If you use the 5 whys or wishbone, you're going to just make those fit with the type of questions that you need to ask for workplace violence. Okay. So to prepare yourself, identify the need for workplace violence training. Do you need it? So myself, I'm a company of 1. I don't really need workplace violence training per se. I very highly doubt I'm going to beat myself up. Now I have harassed myself before, but I nipped that one in the bud. We want to understand the individual and the organizational costs of our workplace violence. This is something you can contact your insurance company on, and they can give you some financial statistics of what workplace violence can cost. That may help you get management to understand you need to have a workplace violence program, a prevention program. You need to know the different types of workplace violence. So we covered some today, but not that many. There's a whole lot more out there. If I did everything, it would be an 8-hour class. We want to identify organizational roles in the workplace. So what does the manager do in this type of situation? What does your supervisor do in these situations? What does the safety person do? I'm a safety professional. What am I going to do in this kind of situation? How am I going to make it better? Or am I going to make it worse if I'm in that chain of command? And then we need our employees involved. They need to know there is no tolerance at all for workplace violence to happen in, on, or around this facility. This isn't like, I'll see you in the schoolyard after the last bell. No, you have to, it's not going to happen at all. And keep them in the communication loop. And if something does happen, the same way with incidents that happen at work or accidents where somebody gets injured, how we talk about those with our employees, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to keep the HIPAA rules in place. We're not going to talk about personal information or anything like that, but we do want to talk about it because we need that information out there. We have to learn from it. We're going to recognize our potential threats. We're going to identify strategies for prevention. Okay, so what are some of the things we can do to prevent? That's education and training, right? Those are our big things, especially in the safety world. That's what we do. We educate and we train. We're gonna identify and train employees with the steps to take when faced with workplace violence. Remember those 3 steps? Pop quiz. De-escalate. So that's for active shooter. Run, hide, and fight is for active shooter. That's good, right? You can use run, hide, and fight in lots of situations, but we're gonna de-escalate it. We're gonna try to make it calm down, or we're gonna escalate it and we're gonna say, "Hey, dude." And I don't care whether you're a boy, girl, or anything in between, it's dude. Okay. And then we're going to call emergency services if we need it. I need everybody trained to be able to do that. we're gonna recognize our site-specific guidelines for workplace violence, because now you're gonna have these policies in place of zero tolerance. So some of the resources. We have the US Department of Labor Workplace Violence Program. They have multiple levels. So they have level 1, level 2, and level 3 that are specific to different types of workplace violence. And then they have one over here for domestic violence. So you're talking about healthcare. We have the Patient Safety Network, which is really good. It's got a lot of information. It is designed more for healthcare and nurses, but the information in there is transferable to all of us. OSHA.gov has a workplace violence protection program. They actually have a certification course you can take. It's online, costs $25. The US Department of Justice has a lot of stuff on workplace violence and the laws behind it, if you need to understand more of that to build your policies. And then I threw this one in here. This is roarforgood.com. This is one of the places you can go to get some physical items that could help you, like I think your bank teller, they got the little buzzer that's underneath the counter. Or if you're a lone worker, they have like the medical alert things. This says, help, I'm in trouble. Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. If you can remember that commercial from the 90s. So that's it. That's all I have. I'd like to thank you all for joining me today. Again, Happy New Year, and I'm free for any questions that you have.
I do have a question for you, Joy. Are there any specific training besides that OSHA one you'd recommend, such as like, I know a lot of EMS do like crisis intervention training and stuff like that?
The Department of Labor Workplace one. They've got a really good website. They've got a lot of interactive stuff. They've got videos on there that you can watch. So I put it on top for the reason that would be my favorite one. This certification course is like an hour long. So, and I have not taken it, so I don't know how much information you're going to get out of it. But I do know that the Department of Labor one it's got papers, it has legal information, it has videos, quizzes you can take. So, any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
You mentioned water cooler talk. We all do it. We're
We all do
human.
it.
So, water cooler talk can be venting or gossiping. When does that turn into harassment though? Like, where's that line? Cause.
Oh, well, let me pull out my degree in psychology.
Okay.
You remember the 3 U's? Unwanted, uninvited. What was the third one? Unwelcome. When it hits any one of those 3 U's, that is when it becomes harassment. For not having a psychology degree. If I had to do it all over again, I would have. But I found I need psychology in my life. So yeah, if it's Michael and I are over here gossiping about you, you're not going to know that it's hostile, right? Until something comes back to you. And that's a perfectly normal case where it would happen because we're gossiping. I can tell you're a big gossiper. But you may not know. But you may feel the hostility coming from us. And if you have that hostility and that hostile work environment, that is something that you need to address. And you can choose your paths. You can talk to us if you feel comfortable. I would much rather people come to me and say, hey, you're being a jerk, than going to my boss and telling them I'm being a jerk, But I'm not one who's prone to workplace violence either. So that kind of answer your question with my lack of psychology degree? Okay. Yeah.
In your research, did you find any statistic that who's the most likely person to commit workplace violence in the workplace? And are there warning signs from that demographic?
There really are no warning signs, but statistically it is white men ages 35 to 45. I'm not a man, so I'm good. But I think a lot of that statistical data has to do with the type of work we're doing And that feeling of, and we all get this, that feeling of entitlement. This is my job, and if I get fired, then I'm gonna do that retribution. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna make you pay for it. So yeah, statistically, it is white men. Don't let that scare anybody, okay? We're gonna work through it. We're gonna de-escalate, we're gonna escalate if we have to, and we're gonna call emergency services. So, all right, if that is it, I will say thank you very much, and I will wish you a very great day.
All right, and I'm back, everybody. Hope you didn't miss me too much. I'm sure you didn't. That's okay. For next month, we're actually going to have it on accident investigation. You can join us on February 1st at 10 a.m. as well. And so if that's something you're looking forward to, then please join then. In addition to that, Joy's presentation will actually be up on our YouTube page tomorrow. So you can share it with colleagues if you found this very insightful and, you know, you want to get the word out for other individuals. In addition to that, on our YouTube page, all of our previous Start with Safeties are on a playlist on there. So if there's one that you may have missed in the past and you want to go, you know, give it a view, then feel free to. There's a lot of great information on there. And with that said, that's it for us. Thank you for attending and stay safe.